Joining me right now, we have Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat from Minnesota. Senator, I'm so glad you're here, and I know, ma'am, that you have a 3:20 p.m. Speaking on the floor, so we're going to get going right now for you. What is happening on the floor right now? And with the full text of the bill, only released overnight, do your Senate colleagues really know what's in it?
That would be, it is 900 plus pages, so don't think so. But what we do know from some immediate analysis, which Senator Schumer was just discussing on the floor, it actually has more Medicaid cuts. Yet so many of our colleagues, Senator Hawley has said that it's immoral to cut Medicaid and to throw 16 million people off of their health care. Well, this has more Medicaid cuts, and it adds to the debt of a grand old amount of $4 trillion. This is bad for the American people. It is horrendous when it comes for helping the wealthiest and then trying to do everything to give them more tax cuts and hurt everyone else. And analysis after analysis have shown that. So this is what I consider a big, beautiful betrayal. Food assistance cut, people thrown off their health care, and of course adding $1 trillion of debt, which is going to make hard to get mortgages. All kinds of things are problematic with this bill.
Are your colleagues on the other side of the aisle paying any attention to the public sentiment around this? You've just said there are more cuts in Medicaid than that which they receive from the House. It's going in the wrong direction, it seems.
Well, it is, and you just even one of your competitors, Fox News poll, showed that 60% of people hate this bill. It is 2-to-1 against this bill, and the more they hear about it, the more they don't like. People want to see their costs go down. They want to see their costs go down on groceries. They want to see their costs go down on health care. They want to be able to afford a mortgage, and everything about this bill makes their costs go up. It is completely polar opposite of what people want.
And then we just heard from my colleague Sahil that Thom Tillis is a no on the procedural vote, no on an official bill. So do you think there are enough defectors to kill this bill?
You know, they seem to, in the end, always rubber stamp Donald Trump, time and time again. This is their moment to stand up. All we need is 4 of them to stand up. 4 Republicans need to stand up and listen to their constituents, and then they can start over, or they can take some of this and stop this huge increase to the debt, which is just completely opposite of what we should be doing. Why? Just to fund a bunch of tax cuts for the wealthy so that people can get $400,000 tax cuts who are millionaires, and the rest of everyone else is left on the cutting room floor.
That Fox News poll you cited, again, Fox News. Are Republicans thinking ahead to the political consequences, and what is the strategy for Democrats on this?
First of all, their strategy, Republican strategy, seems to be just do everything the president wants them to do. Our strategy is to stand up for the American people. So you are going to see us push votes to try to change this, to try to make it better. We don't believe in the end it will be anything near what we would want, but we're going to say to them, okay, if you want to help people with food assistance in rural communities, if you don't want to close down rural hospitals, then here's your chance. Vote with us. So we will be putting a number of amendments out on the floor, which is our right, to make them vote on them, because this is one of our opportunities where we can do this and hold them accountable for this bill, because even at this point, they could change this bill.
So what are you hearing from your constituents about this bill? I'm curious. I mean, you referenced Senator Schumer, who said, quote, Americans hate this bill. You've said Americans hate this bill. Is that what you're hearing from your constituents? And I'm curious what their biggest concern is.
Yes, and I would say one of the biggest concerns in my state, which is, of course, mourning the loss of Melissa and Mark Cortman today with that beautiful ceremony based in such their faith and the faith in public service. What our state is looking at is, wait a minute, how about rural hospitals? It will close dozens of rural hospitals, 300 total across the United States, because of both Medicaid cuts and Medicare cuts. The debt in this proposal is so huge that it actually triggers Medicare cuts that will lead to the closure of rural hospitals. They are also concerned with grocery prices going up, about interest rates going up, which is what we are seeing now when you look at the long term with a bill that adds literally $1 trillion in interest.
As we try to find something that everybody could agree upon, if Republicans were not threatening to strip Medicaid, SNAP funding and the like, would you support extending the Trump tax cuts?
I have supported extending the ones that help regular people, those making under $400,000 a year. If they would look at that and they would just do that and they wouldn't give all the tax cuts to the wealthy, you'd save $2 trillion of the $3-4 trillion that they're adding in debt right there. Or you could put it in a debt reduction fund. You could say, okay, we're going to take this trillion and we're going to put it in debt reduction. Nothing like that are they doing. They are adding more tax cuts for the wealthiest. I personally would bring up the corporate tax rate, even if you did 4 points, 5 points, put it somewhere in the middle of where it once was and where it is now. Each point you go up is $150 billion in 10 years. So you can quickly get to $1 trillion that way. There are so many sensible solutions, but that's not what this bill is. This bill is a ripoff, and it helps the wealthiest at the expense of everyone else.
You mentioned what had happened earlier today, the funeral held for Minnesota State House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, who were assassinated earlier this month in that shocking attack. State Senator John Hoffman, who was also shot, remains hospitalized. His wife was released this week. I know this is a somber day for you, but what are your thoughts overall?
Well, like my colleague Tina Smith, we really wanted to be there to respect the memory of our friend, and with so many of their family and friends. We got to go yesterday and talk to Sophie and Colin, their children, and it was incredible what they said. They just talked about how their parents' legacy was a legacy of service, that their parents' legacy is a legacy of charity. And then I thought most fitting at the end of the service that I watched on live stream, which was a full mass and a very religious ceremony, was the Archbishop in Minnesota, Archbishop Hebda, who quoted the Pope, the new Pope, Pope Leo, about how politics is the highest form of charity. I hope our colleagues remember this weekend, that we are supposed to be about helping people, and that's what Melissa Hortman stood for.
As we take a look at a very full sanctuary there, how do we, last question here, how do we tackle the issue of political violence? And I'm curious, the root cause of the recent rise in it.
Well, when you look at what you see online, so many people who are off balance or just keep reading this over and over again get incentivized. And I think part of this is putting some rules of the road on social media. The second part of it is bringing the tone down, and some people who make comments that are so over the top, better look in the mirror and think of the responsibility they have as civic leaders. And then the final thing is just we need people to stand up and participate in the democracy. You would think that's not what I'd like to say today when I saw my friend gunned down by a madman. But actually, we need more good people to go into politics. That's what Melissa stood for. That's why I'm wearing green today, because she loved planting trees. She loved the beauty of the world around her. And that's what I hope people take from her memory. And I hope they walk right into our democracy and participate, especially young people, not away from it.
I'm so glad to hear what you've said just there, and so glad to hear everything else you've afforded us. Thank you so much. It's an emotional, busy day.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you've got about 7 minutes to get down to the floor, so take off. Thank you, Senator Amy Klobuchar.